Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, 12 Faces of Sober Speaks podcast. This is episode number 72. Tonight's guest is a brother by the name of Sean. I've been following him on Instagram probably now roughly over. Hey, what's going on, bro? What's happening, man? Happy holidays to you. I've been following him now, I would probably say maybe just shy over 6 months. He's actually the first person in the sober community that I've actually seen in person and shook hands with him, took pictures with him, and felt like, you know what, I'm here in Minnesota, so why not start, where the grassroots was, where I actually got sober and try to get people in the community to be on the excuse me, I'm a little under the weather, but be on my podcast. And so like I said, we met face to face last month. We actually were supposed to meet when I first came back to Minnesota back in July, but I had a lot going on and I really only wanted to be around my family, and that was pretty much it. So I was definitely thankful. I actually saw something that was on his page. He had posted, or someone tagged him, Shaniqua had tagged him about her 9-year celebration. So I reached out to her directly and was like, hey, I would love to just come and, show love, show love to you as you celebrate 9 years. That's a very large accomplishment. I obviously haven't got 9 years under my belt, only have 6. So it was definitely a good thing to be there. Like I said, I got to meet 2 people in the sober community, and then also others that were telling their testimony. So, but hey, what's going on, Talon? How you doing? You still need to be on my podcast. You better stop avoiding me. I'm just playing. It's all love. I know you're doing well, doing good things in Canada. So, whenever you get time, we should definitely link up. But yeah, so, definitely a cool dude. He has a lot of things that he has going on, that he's working in the community. He actually has a step team. We're going to talk about that. They performed at that sober event. So that was also a good thing. Let's see what else. Today I've basically recorded, this will be the second show. I have one more going on that I'll be on somebody else's. But I felt like before we go into this holiday weekend, that we have, we're opening up the doors as far as support, so that you're hearing stories from others who have those success stories and everything, or even the triumphs and the struggles and everything, and to let others know that, hey, we are here to support each other, and know that excuse me, that we are here, and just to put it out there to anyone during this holiday, if you are deployed, overseas, and you don't really have anybody to talk to, please reach out. You could reach out to me or reach out to someone else in the sober community. If you're here stateside or even internationally, period, reach out to people that, you feel comfortable with having those type of conversations. I know that holidays can be very tough. I myself in the past, when I was drinking, I looked forward to Thanksgiving and any other holidays because you get to drink a little bit more. And now that I'm on the other end, I want to eat a little bit more over drinking, you know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. Enough of me talking. Just so you guys know, I'm going to try my best not to talk a whole lot because I am losing my voice. Don't ask me how, because I never get sick. But without further ado, I want to welcome my brother Sean. Jessica, how you doing? How you doing? You stay on the grind. I love it. I love it. Just wanted to let you know. But yeah, so I also will be probably having a sale. I'm going to probably set it up tonight and try to, throw some deals out this weekend. So hopefully, you guys could definitely get some 12 Faces Sober merch. But enough. What's going on, Sean, man? Good evening. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, man? Happy Thanksgiving, brother.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, man. How was your day?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Did you guys have this week off? Or were you guys was school in session?
We had school Monday and Tuesday of
Okay.
this week. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome to 12 Faces Sober Speaks podcast. Definitely looking forward to you sharing your story. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly, and how life is today. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, like I said, you can go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know where you from, and and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I first would like to give all honor and praise to my Lord, Savior, Jesus Christ. Without him, I would not be able to do this interview or even stay sober. So it's because of him. I have the power and the strength to continue on. I don't take this opportunity lightly. I'm hoping that something that I say, or something that Kenneth says, can push others to want to achieve long-term sobriety. But yeah, I mean, born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. I always got this little joke. I got my eating license in New Orleans, and got my drinking license, which was revoked in Wisconsin. So yeah. Okay. I didn't do any drinking at all when I lived in New Orleans. Okay. I lived there for about 13 years or so. And then my family moved us to Wisconsin.
Okay.
And it really wasn't until I got to college where I was introduced to drinking and cocaine. So that's where my drinking journey started. Even though in New Orleans, there's a lot of partying going on out there. I just wasn't. My parents did a really good job of keeping us away from that scene. And to be honest with you, true story. I think I tasted my dad's beer once, and I was kind of turned off by it. I think I asked him. I said, "Why are you drinking this?" Because it was just because the taste was just so disgusting. So, but in New Orleans, man, I was just really about the culture and about the food and about the Who Dat Nation and the New Orleans Saints. But it wasn't until I moved to Wisconsin where I went to college at the University of Whitewater, Wisconsin, and made a decision that really changed my life. For the first time, I felt what defeat felt like. And all through high school, I was pretty successful, pretty good childhood. On the track team, I ran track in college. I was pretty good. I was number 7th in the state of Wisconsin when I was running track. So I was a speed demon. Me and Michael Bennett. That's my claim of fame. I raced him when him and I were seniors. He won though, but that's the caliber of runners that I was in the class. And when I got to college, things didn't go quite well for me. So I did what I thought was best. I wanted to escape myself. So I found.
No.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. Because I went to college up here, in the Midwest. Do you think that the culture, especially like in the wintertime at some of these type of, the smaller schools, do you think that culture is different compared to like a bigger city? Because I went to St. Cloud State and they got it in. And I know that during that time that I don't know how they made it, but they made that the top of the list of party schools in the nation. And I was like, I didn't see it, but according to whoever did the poll, St. Cloud State reached it.
Right. Yeah, definitely, especially in like areas where, for example, like you say, St. Cloud State. I mean, what else is it there to do?
Right.
St. Cloud State, and one thing about schools like that, even like schools like the University of Whitewater, where I went, probably the same. Was your school Division III?
No, I think they were Division II.
Okay, Division II. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to a smaller school. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
schools like that. I mean, the culture, part of the culture of those schools is drinking. And it's easy to fall for that trap. Because everyone's doing it. It's become normalized. What else would you want to do with your time? I mean, at least for me, that's what it was. I mean, Thursday through Sunday was a routine for me. I don't know if they called it Thirsty Thursdays in St. Cloud State.
Yeah, they had it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got it in. It became part of what I did. I thought that, hey, this is normal, but there was a piece of me that was depressed. And I just really found myself not enjoying this anymore, but it's becoming a part of my routine. You know what I mean? Like kind of like getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth, rinsing your mouth. Like it became a routine. So they always say that there's an invisible line that you cross, and I know I crossed that invisible line a long time ago. So so I think that if there was more for students to do, at the small colleges or just anywhere in general, I think that it could minimize the drinking habits or so.
Yeah, because I know that at some point they had ended up becoming a dry campus and stuff for, I guess, incidents and everything. But that didn't stop people. You know what I mean?
Right.
You still had access to it. You know what I'm saying? And and I'm glad we're having a discussion about the college climate, because like I said, it definitely. And I know for me, a lot of times, like I was trying to get out of St. Cloud, so I come Thursday afternoon after that class on Thursday, I was gone. I was coming down to the cities. I was like, nah, I can't. I don't want no parts of this place unless I really and truly had to be up there. I would be there Monday through Thursday, Tuesday through Thursday type deal, because I was just, it wasn't my type of atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? They didn't care too much for black folks up there. They still don't, but it was worse. And I was up there from '01 to '03.
Okay.
And it was a lot of craziness going on up there, for sure. Now, so you experienced depression. Now, did you did you find yourself using more? Was it like something that may have happened in your life, or just going through what an average college student would go through? You go through changes. You're having a newfound identity, basically. You know what I'm saying? So how was that?
So when I lived in New Orleans, I actually was molested when I was in third grade.
Okay.
Which really,
sorry to hear that.
No, thank you. Which really changed my outlook. I think it changed how I saw the world, how I connected with my family, our relationship with my siblings. Look, I'm in third grade, man.
Right.
I'm already kind of like feeling different. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'll never forget this, man. Profoundly, I remember laying in my bed one night, and I remember asking myself, why me? Why me? So, and then to answer your second question, you know, after having that other, so here's what I did. The molestation thing, I kind of just, as I got older, I just began to like just, you know, push down. You know, the older I got, I just, you know, push it further down. You know, never dealt with it. Didn't deal with it. You know, you know, certain things that you bury and that you don't deal with has a way of coming back to life,
Right.
in some type of form, fashion. And then when we moved to Wisconsin, that was another dinger. You know, because one thing about New Orleans, man, the culture. That's what I love about New Orleans, is culture, the people. And then my visuals of white people were Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Metallica, Madonna. You know what I'm saying? Dolly Parton. You know what I'm saying? I get to Wisconsin and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Culture shock.
Culture shock.
Culture shock.
And I think that also, that's another layer for me, for where, you know, while I was depressed. You know, and it felt like I fit. Okay. It felt like I fit in this world, brother. You know. So anyway, but finally, you know, when I went to college, the University of Whitewater, you know, I don't know, a switch went off when I started drinking. I don't know, like I felt appreciated. You know, I was having fun. I felt like I belonged. I felt no judgment. You know, everybody was doing the same thing. You know, this was it. I was like, wow, okay. Maybe this is it. You know, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the thing that I'm missing.
That's it. And so, like, at any point, I mean, like, were you like, you mentioning alcohol, like, was there other stuff that was presented out there? You know, when you
most definitely. Oh yeah. So, I don't know. I think I must have drank maybe a couple of years, you know, and then I was introduced to cocaine. I'll never forget that night. These guys sitting on the couch. I'm walking in, I'm visiting, saying, "Hey, what's up? What's up?" I see this character sitting on the couch I've never seen before. Usually, guys can look at movies in the dark.
right?
You know what I mean? I mean, it's dark. I'm like, "Hey, can we turn some light on in here?" You know. And you hear the guy saying, "Hey, man, this dude's killing my vibe." I say, "Oh, my bad," you know, da. Anyway, I noticed there was a piece of paper laying on a glass table, and it was just weird, just awkward where this piece of paper was laying at. And I'm just like, so I just happened to just lift it up, and I saw some lines, you know, and that was my introduction. And one of my good friends told me that, hey, if you ever do this, you only do it with me, you know. And I said, oh, okay, you know. But instantly, man, I was hooked. Instantly.
Man. Dang. And that's what I heard about that. And that's why, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I've seen it. I've never touched it unless it was laced with something, you know. And all I would say is I've heard those stories that, like, yeah, it could take just that very first time that it'll actually get you, and then you be trying to chase that same exact feeling any and every time you try it afterwards.
Yep. Man,
that's crazy.
And that's what happened. You know, I followed his rule, you know, for a while. And then, you know, once you start and you start hanging out with other people who who does it.
Mm.
And you're like, oh, shoot, I can get it from you.
Mm.
You know, so that's when that Pandora box opened.
Mm.
You know, so, and that became part of the Thirsty Thursdays. You know, so I used and drank quite some time. I think. Let's see, I'm 44 now. I used drugs and cocaine for about over 20 years.
Damn. Wow.
Over 20 years.
And so, like, in between that, did you find yourself in some rocky situations? Did you have run-ins with the police? Did you catch it?
I got a couple DUIs.
I was just about to ask that.
In Wisconsin, my first DUI was in Wisconsin.
Okay.
But in Wisconsin, they treat it as a like a parking ticket.
So,
in Minnesota,
that's a different ballgame.
That's a criminal act.
Mm.
So I had to. So I caught my second one. And since it was my second one, I had to do 30 days house arrest. I had to attend some classes. And I never got another one. I only got 2.
Okay.
Another experience.
Don't they give you like did you get the whiskey plates?
No.
No?
No,
Oh, okay.
I only got 2.
Okay.
It's the third offense.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And to be honest with you, they kind of, because my 2 was so and far between. So I got the one in Wisconsin, I want to say 2005.
Okay.
8 years later, I got the one in Minnesota. So since they were so far apart,
right,
they didn't feel like
you were like a super problem.
Yeah.
If you would have been like within like a couple years span, and you already then got you another one, or you driving on a suspended and you catch another one.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I didn't get any more DUIs. I'll be honest with you. So I did have to spend 2 nights in jail. Let me tell you something. Jail ain't for me. Jail.
It ain't for me either. It ain't for me either. No. Shoot.
Nope. It ain't for me. So right away, there was no more drinking and driving. However, when COVID hit, that's when things for me really escalated.
Okay.
That's when things really started to spiral out of control, and I was breaking all types of rules. But here's the thing, I've never shared this story with anyone, and I'm going to share it with you.
All right, appreciate it.
I had any runs with the law. Here's the thing, it really runs in the law. It wasn't the thing that, I don't have many stories about that, but I got many stories just putting myself in dangerous situations. Like getting myself meeting some strangers, walking with them, and going to a crack house. Okay. Now, had a little money on me. And you're feeling good. You feel like God. So now you're gonna try to help the other, addict. Here I am. Well, I got jumped.
Oh, shoot.
I got choked out. And I escaped. Okay, I escaped. I escaped the situation. Now, you would think after something like that, like,
you would stop.
If that's not a wake-up call, or if that's not God saying, look, you can't continue like this, or you're going to die, You're right, I didn't stop.
Mm.
I kept just putting myself in less dangerous situations.
And I'm gonna tell you, because seeing that, we both live in Minnesota, or probably not too far from each other. The first thing came to mind when you mentioned jail. I used to work I used to work in the prison. I used to work at Oak Park Heights out in Stillwater and everything. And this was back in '04, right after maybe like maybe like 6 months after I graduated. And I remember I was escorting an inmate to visiting, and he was trying to get me to bring drugs in, and I told him straight up. I said, "You think I want to be in here with you?" I said, "I know how you live. I see it. I can go home."
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then 4 years later, I go to jail. I do a night in jail, and it was like, damn, I'm no different than the man I was escorting. Regardless of what he was in there for,
Yep.
I'm now in jail and not knowing, like, okay, am I going to get out? Even though I did get out in like 16 hours, but still the fact of getting arrested and them not telling you, like, what are your charges or anything. But I was in jail.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I had multiple run-ins with the police, not anything. Well, I got drunk on duty when I was in the Army, so I was in a holding tank. But you're just listening to that part, like, it made me think about that. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I just put myself in less dangerous situations. I will only would buy from someone that I bought from, invite those who, I've, sworn or smoked with. So just less dangerous situations. But when the pandemic hit, that's when the things really got bad for me. And remember that incident I was telling you about that I buried, right?
Mm-hmm.
That came back up. My whole depression of why I was depressed, not feeling, not feeling appreciated, or like I felt invisible, kind of. If that's so. I Grubhub, and sometimes just stopping before COVID, sometimes just stopping at the bars was kind of like my escape pod. Stop at a bar before I come home, get a little loose. That was my escape pod. Once the bar shut down and COVID hit, my escape pod became my car. So I started breaking that rule of not drinking and driving. I was drinking and driving like it was going out of style. I would buy the 16-ounce cans, put them in my cup holders. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a water bottle and just fill it up with the beer. Put the beer back on ice, and I had a ice bag.
Okay.
So just drinking that like I'm drinking water, or I'm drinking whatever.
Yeah, protein shake, or little energy drink. Yeah.
Oh.
I think there's been plenty of us that's been in that situation. So.
Yep. So it got bad. It got bad.
Now, I'm sure at this point, because like I said, I'm only a year younger than you, and COVID was just recently. Now, was there anybody within your circle, be it family, be it friends, a significant other, did anybody notice? Obviously, you battle with this issue. You battle with it for some time. Like, did anybody have that conversation with you?
Well, my mom, when she was alive, she knew something was wrong. She always told me that I need to cut back. It really was my wife.
Okay.
She's the one who's like, need to get some help.
Mm.
But cut back. Stop.
Yeah. And
And when I
and
thought
so
and when I thought I was hiding it from her, she knew all along.
mm,
She would say something sometimes. Sometimes she just like, well, you know, it's his life. That's how he
mm.
wants to live it. You know. So
And so, you know, because and I think that, you know, I think during that the pandemic time, and I know I'm sure I probably make posts about it, that there was going to be an increase in terms of, you know, people picking up, you know, drinking, you know, now they're working at home, or even, you know, doing drugs at home. And then, like I said, in certain places, they had it where you could have it delivered. You know what I'm saying? And so it was like, okay, well, you would think like, all right, well, these places are closed. You're not supposed to really move around.
right.
But guess what? They left alcohol on the list to where it was like, oh yeah, we delivered till 2 a.m. type
Yeah.
deal, you know. And instead of like, okay, you need medical attention, get your medical attention,
Right.
not, you know, get you more, you know, pick up the habit even more. Because I'm sure a lot of people's intake of alcohol increased during COVID. I don't know the numbers. I don't want to throw nothing, but that's just my own personal
No,
assessment.
you're right. You're right. You absolutely right.
Mm,
Yeah. I remember the liquor store I used to go to. You know, she would talk about her sales, how her liquor sales just skyrocketed. You know,
mm, mm,
since COVID. Um, but yeah. Um, and then one time it was just I remember being out and I just you know when your tires begin to ball on your car,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
time for some new tires.
right.
That's how I felt. You know, I was really beat up at the time. I was really beat up. My wife and I were separated. We wasn't seeing eye to eye. I was a piss poor father, piss poor husband,
Mm,
piss poor everything.
mm,
And I just remember sitting right here on Washington. There's a bench on Washington. There's a bar called Stadium Bar right across the street.
okay.
There's an empty lot, and there's a brown bench. A bench is still there,
Okay.
and there are times when you know I would just sit there and drink.
Mm,
This particular day, I just remember the sky being so orange and purple. You know, the sun was going down, and I just remember looking up to God, and I just said, "I'm tired. I want to stop. I need to stop." Um, and then that next day, I didn't take a drink, and I didn't take a drink, but I was picking up dinner for my family, and I did end up picking up a bag of Coke,
mm,
and didn't wait till I got home to rip it down right there. But there was something unusual about this time. It didn't taste like cocaine. It didn't smell like cocaine. It didn't smell like anything. And I remember just emptying it out and just throwing it away. And I'm like, oh, that motherfucker got me.
mm.
And ended up driving all the way to St. Louis Park.
Okay.
And then moments later, I woke up in the ambulance.
Mm,
Yeah, I had OD'd. I had
mm,
OD'd on fentanyl. I was pronounced dead. They, normally, they give you one Narcan and then they bring you back it brings you back. But for me,
mm,
they kept having to Narcan me.
mm,
I didn't really get a solid pulse until I got to the hospital.
mm.
And even then, it was still touch and go. So for that 24 hours. But finally, I came to, and that was the day that my life changed.
Mm.
So,
Now, see, I mean, I've had guests on here that have touched on fentanyl. I'm not educated about it. I'm gonna keep it real because, like I said, I I limited myself when it came to drugs. You know what I'm saying? And so I hear these stories and how, like I said, you purchased one thing with the notion that, okay, this is what I'm used to getting, and then it's laced with something totally different.
well, here's the thing, brother. It wasn't even laced.
Oh,
It was straight fentanyl.
oh, okay.
And the
Well,
thing
there you have
is,
it.
yeah. So when the pandemic hit, you know, if you remember the ports got shut down and all the exporting and importing and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that affected
The
somebody's.
drug thing. Yeah, it heavily.
Yeah. So what a lot of people were doing was they were cutting it with
Same.
fentanyl,
Yeah.
make
Mm.
it, look like, hey, And I remember my dealer told me to be careful, because hey, got this fentanyl going around, blah 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 blah, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, whatever,
It ain't gonna get to you.
ain't gonna get to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it ain't gonna get to you
I'm Rocky Balboa in these streets.
until it gets you. Until it gets you. And
They got me.
so and so you said I guess you can say, you that was one of my questions in terms of having a spiritual awakening. So, you get this, you realize, okay, hey, my life definitely took a different turn.
Not quite.
Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Let me let you keep going then.
Not quite. You would think so, right? You would think, man,
Mhm.
that's it. You're wrong. It got my attention. But now I was faced with a decision.
Mm.
I knew what door I needed to walk through.
Mm.
But after that, I'd be lying to you if I didn't. I'd be lying to you, and I don't want to lie. I'd be lying to you if I told you that I didn't drink anymore after that.
Okay.
Because I did. I drank.
Okay.
Didn't use, but I drank.
Okay.
Did. And I got this. I wouldn't even call it a spiritual awakening at this point, but it was more or less like the OD really opened my eyes, really put my wife in a place where she could no longer, there was nothing else she could do.
Mm.
Like, the talking has stopped. It's pretty much, look, if you don't do this, you're going to die.
Mm.
And I had to get over myself and get over my ego.
Mm.
And eventually, after a couple of days of thinking about it, because I would have to go to inpatient treatment. I started thinking about, well, if I go to inpatient treatment, that means I got to take off from work. I can't Grubhub no more. I'm just thinking about all the things that I can't do anymore.
Mm.
And not one time did I think about, damn, well, look at the things that you're going to be able to do. I didn't have that type of outlook. I was looking at it, what I was about to lose. This was my way of life. This is my way of coping. This is my way of escaping. So now I got to come out in the light I can't hide anymore. I can't isolate.
Mm.
So yeah, here's my bottom. I'll tell you my bottom. My bottom wasn't an OD. My bottom was something that my wife told me, and she told me, and she said, listen to me. She said, look, right now, you ain't nothing to me. You're nothing to me. And I don't want our daughter to be like you. And I don't want her to be with anyone like you.
Oh, that's tough.
That hurt more than the OD. That was my bottom.
Yeah, that's. Oh man, that right there. You just gave me a flashback, brother. Like you gave me a flashback, and damn, that's deep. Because that my ex-wife said the same thing to me in 2016, and I was like, okay. She told me straight up. She's like, you will be a drunk with a bachelor's degree. But guess what? I was sober getting my master's degree. And I was without her. And so that not taken away from what your wife said, because that's a real gut check, bro. I'm not in that, that's a gut check.
No, you taking it away. No. I mean it was.
Yeah.
Everyone's bottom is different. That was mine.
Right.
That was my bottom. My bottom.
So did you end up going to treatment?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I went.
Okay.
Treatment. I did 28 days, so 30 days.
Okay.
Hazleton, in Center City.
Okay.
AKA The Rock.
Okay.
30 days there. I tell you what, man. That's where my spiritual awakening happened.
Okay.
And the reason why is because somebody asked me, what's your definition of peace? I said 30 days at Hazleton. 30 days at Hazleton, man. I didn't go to Hazleton to stop drinking or stop using. I went to Hazleton to deal with Sean. To Hazleton to unpack all this bullshit inside of me that I have already pushed down and deal with it, address it one by one. And there's just this God-like feeling that I had. Like I felt the presence of the Lord at Hazleton. I've always had a relationship with God, but I never had an intimate relationship with God. And that's where my intimate relationship with God started, was at Hazleton. That's where my spiritual awakening started. That's when I had my spiritual awakening.
Okay. Now, for those that don't know, Hazleton, that's here in Minnesota, correct?
There's two. So there's two locations. There's campus in St. Paul, and then there's the campus in Center City, aka they call it The Rock. Okay.
Because I was just thinking, because I did rehab not too far from where you're at now, like right off of Broadway. Right over north, right behind that Cub Foods, not too far from Freedman's. I don't know if it's still open. I think it's called North Point, something like that.
Yeah.
I did. That was my first stint. That was in 2008. I spent Christmas there.
Okay.
2008. Yeah.
Okay.
But I still didn't learn that first time. But and that's good that you pointed that out, that sometimes, especially, for someone that goes there the first time, you're not, or going to rehab periods, like sometimes you're not necessarily, you're not ready. Sometimes people are forced. Like when I went to North Point, it was, and big shots out. I think you might know my cousin, Reverend Patterson, Ronnie Patterson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my cousin. And he was the one that got me into that treatment. But my family tricked me because it was like, oh yeah, we'll just go for a ride. And I'm like, okay, yeah, just take your stuff. Yeah, you're gonna go on a little vacation. And I'm like, oh, I'm about to go out of town. Man, I'm like, we going through North Minneapolis in the winter. And I'm like, oh hell nah. Like I'm walking down Broadway with a suitcase. Like no joke. That was me. And, sometimes you gotta, and I wasn't ready then. I wasn't ready to accept like, okay, that I wanted to stop drinking. This was for other people.
Right.
But to hear you say that you went there and you did it for Sean, that's what I did in 2016. The last time I got sober was like, okay, it's about me. It's not about nobody else.
Yep.
Whatever issues I have to address them in the moment and not, stop pushing them to the side or blaming everybody else.
Right.
Let's just look in the mirror and face the problems.
Yep. And when I went to Hazleton, I realized my wife was right. It was no good. That version of myself was not good for her. That version of myself was not good for my daughter. That version of myself was not good for me. That version of myself was not godlike. So when I was in there, I would talk to God every night. I still do to this day. And I promised him, I said, when I leave here, I'm going to make life. I'm going to make sobriety a lifestyle. I'm not going to just stop drinking, stop using. I'm going to make it a lifestyle. And whoever I encounter, I will lend a hand in any way I can. But I was determined to make it a lifestyle. Matter of fact, I got rid of my Instagram pages and I created Mr. Sobriety Burns. I wanted to surround myself with those who live a life of soberness. It's a beautiful thing.
I agree. I agree 100%. Because like I said, I can't remember even how, like, I stumbled upon your page, or maybe I saw you commented on something and I just happened to click on it. And I was like, this dude's in Minnesota. But at that time, I was in Florida. So I was like, and I think I might have commented on a few things. And I was like, yo, man, I said, when I get back up to Minnesota, don't matter if I'm coming to visit or if I'm living here, I'm going to reach out to you. And you know what I'm saying? And
it was a breath of fresh air to see someone who's African American, on the sobriety journey. And I remember being ecstatic. I'm like, is he black? What? Because when I went to treatment, man, look, I was only on, a lot of us, we don't go to treatment.
Right.
And so we don't see a lot of each other in treatment. So when I saw your page, I was like, okay, all right. There are other brothers out there who's living a life of sobriety, and that's great. It's just awesome. I did one thing I would stress, and there's a few other people. I know that there's something going on over here in St. Paul, recovery. I think it's a recovery church or something like that. Church
on Wednesday.
State Street.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out soon. One of these Wednesdays, man. I've been everywhere, all over the place. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, it is a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Yep. To be able to have someone that's working the program, of sobriety. It don't matter if it's AA or just like myself. I don't attend AA all the time or whatever, but I understand it. You know what I mean? And it's good to see it, because I'm gonna tell you, man, like when I was in Jacksonville, Florida, I felt like I was on an island. And in those 3 years that I lived there, it was just like, okay, I'm isolated. I don't really want to make friends. And there were a lot of times where I felt like I was going to relapse because of that.
Right.
I'm away from family. There was nobody there. And so it was like, okay, you know, and now with me being back here in Minnesota, it's been like just amazing. You know what I'm saying? You and I got to link up, you know, through Shaniqua's page. And, you know, to me, that's a beautiful thing. And it starts the relationship because I'm trying to push a real sober movement up here for us because I've tried. I'm not going to lie, people that's listening to the show. I've reached out to people that don't look like us and like, hey, I'm in Minnesota, you know, I'm in the Twin Cities, you know, we should at least link up. Right. That stuff still sits on red to this day. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not like that because I know that if I was in any city or state that where I know somebody in the sober community is there, I am not going to hesitate to open my door if you reach out. You know what I'm saying? So that is a message to people out there. It's like, you know, you can't front on social media and then be like, oh, okay, maybe not, maybe yeah, maybe not type. It's either you're going to be a part of it or you're not. You know what I'm saying? And so to me, I love it. I love the fact that, like I said, I can relate to people that look like me and is willing to walk that same path, the same journey. I mean, it don't matter how we got here. It's a matter of the fact that we are here now. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And definitely a blessing. And so, like, what has this last year, like, shown Sean? Oh, like, man. What has it brought out? You know, you've been able to address the issues that you, as you said, you stuffed for quite some time. So now, you know, you're dealing with these you know, right there in your face. You can't run to the liquor store. You can't run to the next D-boy to get to get that fix. Right. So how is it for you today?
Well, Don, to be completely honest with you, this time last year, I was still living in the sober house. My marriage was still up in the air.
Okay.
You know, and since then, this time this year, my marriage is a whole lot better.
Amen. Amen.
Hold on a second.
Hello, everybody. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I am definitely under the weather, but Sean took a break. So 12facessober.com, you can get merch. I'm going to have a nice sale, probably starting sometime tomorrow, maybe like 30-40% off. You might get I don't have a 12 Faces Sober beanie myself, but I got beanies, hoodies, all of the above that I'm going to have on sale. So just stay tuned for that. And Sean is back.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you good, bro?
I wanted to just invite my wife.
Oh, okay.
You asked me a question. And she's told me this. So one of the things, so you said, man, you know, you can't run to the liquor stores, right? Can't go run and get high. So, this is my wife.
Hi.
How you doing? How you doing? Thank you for hanging in there with Sean. I thank you. I don't know you, but thank you for hanging in there. Sean seems like a really, really good dude, just from the one time we met, for sure.
Awesome.
So the answer to that question is, she told me that we were friends again. Mm-hmm. So that is what keeps me from not going back out. Because I don't want to lose my friend. I don't want to lose my friend anymore.
And guess what? I'm here to hold you accountable to that. You know what I'm saying? Just know. So if he slips up, just know I'm gonna be on him. Okay. Just know that for sure. For sure.
That.
Mm-hmm. We not too far from each other. I don't know exactly where, but you mentioned Washington. I'm on. I'm by the park. Let's just say over in St. Paul, but I'm not that far from you guys.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get headphones for you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So, I just need to give you. I need to give you, the visual, because that's
Yeah.
that's it. It's just, and also
Some people don't have that, bro.
Yeah.
Some people don't have that. So, not to cut you off. Some people don't have that. They give up on you, and you like, dang, she hung in there, and that's what's up, man. That's truly a blessing, man, for real.
Mm-hmm. And turning my my power and will over to God. So when I'm feeling like, man, because life happens.
Yeah.
It don't happen. It's going to continue to happen. So, when that happens, I just right away just turn it over to him. Say, hey, this is the moment. It will pass.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. It's going to pass regardless. So regardless if you go out to the liquor store, regardless you go meet, whomever, guess what? That time going to pass. It's going to pass.
Mm-hmm.
Question, the thing is what's going to be the result? What's going to be the result once it does pass? And you have made that mistake. So.
That's big facts right there. Yeah, man. That's tough. Look, you done got somebody in tears, man.
Oh, yeah?
You see what I'm saying? Hey, look, this is definitely a 12 phases of sober first. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, like I said, I am truly thankful that that I've had you on here, because, like I said, this is by far, ladies and gentlemen, the most personal interview, because we're local. We can reach out to each other and actually see each other and be able to hold each other accountable. And I shared with Sean some personal stuff when I first got back, and I even briefed you on what's going on now, but that'll be something, we'll talk in the future about. But it's just a fact of, having those good people in your corner. A lot of times, look, there goes somebody else in Minnesota who I'm going to meet. She's out in Rochester. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So Minnesota love, but yeah, and that's what it is. A lot of times, I think I heard in my podcast earlier this morning, my brother Nico, he said, family turned their backs on him. Family gave up at a certain point, because it was just like, what can we do? We've said this and this and that, and but then family was right there again. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it does take some things drastic for the family to kind of push you away, and then for you to figure it out, and then you come back and y'all fix whatever problems, and that's usually how it is. For some, not all, but for some. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And let me see. Look, I ain't even really had to ask no questions, which is good. But there's a few more things that I wanna ask you.
Okay.
Before I totally lose my voice, and so let me see. Do you have a sponsor, right?
Do I have a sponsor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was one of the questions. I just wanted to make sure.
I have a sponsor, and I sponsor 2 other guys.
Okay, that's real good. Now, let's see. What advice would you give someone that might be afraid to enter those doors of AA?
Who may be afraid?
Yeah.
I would ask him a question. I would ask him, do you want to live? Do you want to die?
Mm.
If you want to live, and you want to live beyond, you know, what you're expected to live. Because one thing, when you start using and drinking to certain levels, you begin to chip away at your life.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to regain traction and you want to live longer, try AA. Now, if you don't, then why don't you just go write your obituary?
That's deep right there. That's real deep.
And this is the reason why I answer that question this way is because same thing that I tell my sponsees, same thing that I tell my wife. I said, listen, if I relapse, I might as well just write my own obituary. Period.
I feel the same way. That's why I'm like, I don't like, and I'll be real. Like, I went to the Timberwolves game on Monday, and the guy next to me, like, I would say the guy next to me, the people in front of me, the people to the left of me, like that was like this is the first sporting event since the pandemic that I went, and I was really uncomfortable just the smell itself, because I'm not around it. You know what I'm saying? Like, my family, they drink, but I'm not in their faces when they're consuming. You know what I'm saying? So to be like that close and like, damn, like, oh yeah, it wasn't a good feeling. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the seats. I was 5 rows from the floor, but
you didn't call me?
Yeah. Oh, hey, the homie, his cousin worked for the Timberwolves, and I won't say where but
okay.
somehow we were able to get good seats behind Miami, the Heat's bench. We was like right there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good times. I'm looking forward to going to another game. I don't know who. I don't really. I mean, I'm a Lakers fan, but I just, since the whole LeBron going to, I kind of just turned it off. But I'm gonna try to see if I can go to another game or something in the future. But now there's a couple things that I want to touch on before we get done. I see on your page you have a passion for cooking. Was that something you picked up since getting clean and sober, or was that something? I know you mentioned New Orleans early in the podcast, but was that something you were, you found joy in while you were, using, or was it now like, okay, I can really get down? You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, you think something tastes good when you under the influence. In reality, it may not.
So yeah, I always had this passion for cooking. Cooking actually was when my wife and I would have our best conversations. Both were in the kitchen, firing things up. And then when the pandemic hit, I have a step ministry. It's called Step with Soul Ministering with Hands and Feet. I teach the art of stepping. Use the art of stepping as a platform, to instill leadership and other values in our young people and help them to get to know the Lord. So that business got shut down because of the pandemic. So I decided to focus on my second passion, which was food. And Sammy, he owned Sammy Eatery, gave me an opportunity to be a restaurant on Saturdays at his Northeast location.
Okay.
And that went well. But at the same time, I was still drinking though. So it became, we did great. I think the food tastes better now that I'm sober. But yeah, it's still something that we do. We actually are working on a new logo and a new name for the. We're going to be a pop-up kitchen.
Okay.
And we're going to start off as a pop-up kitchen. God willing, hopefully in the spring. And you're going to hear it first, but we're going to feature our Buku Drummies. Buku Drummies is a combination of smokiness, spice.
Okay.
And
And let me know, because I sure want to taste, you know what I'm saying? I love samples, you know what I'm saying? Being that I used to be a cook in the Army, so I know a thing or two about, you know what I'm saying, throwing down. I really don't cook since I've been back, but I do cook, you know, still. I got a grill outside, so whenever once the weather gets a little bit warm, you can come on out here and throw down on the grill. It don't matter to me. Oh, you good?
Wing tour.
Okay.
So we pop up certain kitchens, and kind of like a comedy tour. We're gonna do a wing tour, so the flyer be made and the dates of where, how you can pre-order if you want to pre-order. So that's what we're working on now.
Okay. And then you also mentioned about the step group. I had a chance to see that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I did. And they really good, disciplined and everything. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that definitely, and that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you, like some of the activities that, you're, keeping yourself busy, occupying, filling your time. Because, obviously a lot of people, they have that too much idle time, and they don't know what to do with it. So they go back to things that they know what they're used to doing, and then those are the bad things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So definitely a plus. Now, I usually finish it off with these. I was trying to see like certain quotes and everything from your page, and you had two that stood out. My pain will become my purpose. That's one. The second one is, I've covered up the truth so long, I began to believe my own lies. And both of those stood out, but the second one seemed to resonate with me because I felt like I didn't have a drinking problem. I told everybody around me.
Me too. You
know what I'm saying? And to read that, it was like, okay, yeah. I'm not the only one. You know what I'm saying? Because, you in your mind, you're like, man, I don't think I want to do is just get messed up, but then you get messed up, develops into a problem and a problem and a problem and a problem. And, oh yeah, thank you, Daff. I appreciate you. I appreciate you on that. And so that to me is what stood out. And so I guess for me is like, you posted it. So, what was the thought process of, those quotes to you?
Well, one thing is the pain into purpose. I've beat myself up so much and so long, and God hasn't forgotten about me. So with the strength of him, everything from this day forward, I'm going to turn into purpose. So those uncomfortable times, those disappointments, from the pain, and I'm gonna turn turn that into purpose, and be more of a better vessel for others. And the second one, I was running away from who God wanted me to be. That's what that quote's about. I didn't think I was good enough without drugs. I didn't think I was good enough without alcohol. I thought that's the way I need to live my life.
Yeah.
I thought that was it. But in reality, I was using the drugs and the alcohol to cover up what I didn't want you to see. You think that this was my idea to come on here and be vulnerable like this and just tell everybody my story? Nah. It's God's idea.
Right.
And God's idea is always the best idea.
Right.
So no longer will I hide. No longer will I keep this a secret. I'm an open book.
I did that for sure. And let me see. How I usually end my shows is I allow you to bless some words. What advice, seeing that, okay, this is, as those who do celebrate Thanksgiving Eve. I remember, back in the early 2000s here in Minnesota, they used to either have a comedy show on the Wednesday night or some type of concert. And, but there are people out here that are still struggling, that are like, do I go to my family's house and drink? Or, if I drink, I might get into any type of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you give those that might be struggling this holiday season to refrain from using drugs and alcohol?
I would say that there is a better way. There's a better way. Drugs and alcohol is a temporary high.
Mm-hmm.
Sobriety is a forever high. But you have to stay sober.
And I like this new high. I like this new high. Trust and believe.
This high, don't put negatives in your bank account.
Mm-mm.
This high does not separate you from your family.
Mm-mm.
This high allows you to wake up in the morning and listen to the birds chirping. This high allows you to be present, to be aware. This high allows you to live.
That's real, man. That's
so
real.
If you want to experience a high that does not require you to spend money, doesn't require you to go through a withdrawal, I dare you to get sober.
Hey, it's an E40 like to sprinkle you with a little bit of game.
Yeah.
Man, now, I want to really say thank you, man. Like, I remember, I think we had spoke, it was early in the morning or something, and I'm just sitting there like all over the place. And I'm just like, bro, and I didn't want to seem like I was blowing you off. It was just like, I couldn't process what had happened. And when I say the toughest of times, the summer was rather tough for me. And I should have leaned on the local support in sobriety. And that was my fault, because I just felt, I guess for me, I had that security blanket with my family. It was like, my mom, even to this day, like, she couldn't figure out. She was like, are you mad at me? Like, you don't talk to nobody. I said, I just want to be in your presence. I don't have to say a single word to you. I was okay. But being, 1,500 plus miles away, dealing with what I was dealing with, and then couldn't process it. Now I'm sitting at home, and, whenever I was ready, I can go in there. Hey, Mom, let's sit down and let's chop it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And even my sister, we would do the same thing. And what's going on, Tim? And so it was a good feeling to be back, instead of just being on the phone like, Mom, this is going on in my life. I can't figure this out. Now I'm here. I just, I wanted a home cooked meal. My mom was like, you done lost so much weight. Let's get cooking then if that's the case, right? Thanks, bro. Much love to you as well. Happy Thanksgiving. He was on my podcast too earlier this year.
Okay.
So it's one of those things, man, where, we got to hold each other accountable, especially, like I said, man, we probably like less than 10 miles away from each other. You know what I'm saying? And I, want to, extend the invitation, you know what I'm saying? Because I promise you, I don't do nothing. I chill in my apartment, and all I try to do is try to create, more avenues for the sobriety. How I can get this message out. How can I get this message out to people that look like us? This, you know what I'm saying? Because you already know, man, like North Minneapolis, I don't know how I like I said, this past weekend was the first time that I've been like really kind of ventured through there since I've been back. But I recall like it was liquor stores on every corner, every other corner or something. You know what I'm saying? And instead of, you know, being that guy to say like, man, you know, I don't want to help these people. I want to extend that. You know, I want to be able, people look at me 12 faces. What does that mean? They're like, what, you sober? Black man sober? And it's like, yeah, man, like we do exist in this world. But to, you know, and I wear it proud. I wear it proud. And even today I was at Cub over here on Larpenteur. And I was like, hey, you know, lady was like, you know, I got on my hoodies, like the authors wear beards. And she was like, oh, you're an author? And I was like, yeah, I wrote a book about my sobriety. Oh my goodness, you've been 6 years sober. I'm like, yeah, you know, but people are surprised to even hear that. You know what I'm saying? But it is possible. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you know, this is what I wanted to do, is bring awareness and know that, hey, we out here, we exist, and we're going to work together. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, like I said, I wanted to have you on here to be able to speak, because there are some things that I'm really trying to put together and within the sober community. And that's why, like I said, I'm trying to meet all of the heavy hitters. Shaniqua, I need to get with her because I got her a copy of her book. I'm gonna give her for the anniversary. I'm gonna get you one as well. And, you know, and let us all know that that we exist, and, you know, we got to do stuff to support each other. Because we got out here. Right. You know what I'm saying? As hard as it is to struggle with an addiction, it's even better to have that right type of support system. Because I tell you, man, I felt at home when we was at the event. I'm like, everybody welcomed me in. It wasn't like, oh, looking at you like, who the heck is this guy? Yep. Everybody was rather friendly. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I like. I like to be around those type of groups of people. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have that in Florida. It was most everybody that I was around, they was still drinking. And so I struggled with that. I'm like, man, I can't even go hang out with these people because they free flowing, pouring right in front of me. Like, something wrong with you. Why are you not drinking? I'm like, I don't want to drink no more. I don't want to look like you no more. You know what I'm saying? I want to, like you said, I want to extend my life. I want to continue to live. I don't want to be, you know, I want to deal with my problems firsthand, you know, so, but let me conserve my voice, because in about an hour and a half, I got another interview. But man, thank you so much for blessing the show. Thank you for those who've tuned in. Like I said, bro, we gonna get in contact like rather soon. I gotta take another trip down south soon, but I'll be back. And then, like I said, when I get back, or by the new year, we'll definitely link up, if not sooner. But like I said, man, thank you. I want you to know that I'm here and I ain't going nowhere. So we definitely got to link up and stuff, man. So enjoy your holiday with your family, man. I'm very proud of you, and continue to keep doing amazing things, man. For real. You got my support for sure. Okay. All right, man. You have a good night, bro. I'll talk to you soon. All right. All right, now. Y'all take care.